We live in a world that's just constantly clamoring for our attention, right? A real barrage of sights, sounds,
It's
demands.
sensory overload a lot of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But imagine an art, something subtle, a discipline that moves beyond all that noise, something that engages with the unseen energies shaping our experiences,
Hmm.
not through force, but through a really profound kind of sensitivity. Today we're doing a deep dive into this intriguing realm called psychic Aikido.
Yeah, and what's fascinating right from the start is how it evolves Aikido's core ideas.
Yeah.
Classical Aikido is all about physical harmony, blending with an opponent's movement.
Right, that non-resistance principle.
Exactly. But psychic Aikido takes that same idea, that non-resistance, and applies it to the subtle landscape. We're talking intentions, emotions, the whole energetic atmosphere around us. It's about harmonizing with forces we can't necessarily see, but maybe we can feel.
Precisely. And central to this whole approach are two key capabilities we really want to explore today: etheric touch and etheric data packet retrieval. So etheric touch first. This isn't about actually, physically touching something.
Right.
It's more about using your own subtle energetic senses to perceive vibrational information that's just there around you. It's a kind of feeling, but it goes way beyond the physical.
And building right on that is the etheric data packet retrieval. This is the ability to access these concentrated bundles of that vibrational information.
Bundles, like little packages.
Sort of. Think of them like energetic snapshots. They hold traces of past events, maybe strong emotional states, even the echoes of intentions left behind in a space, or maybe connected to a person.
Okay, so this isn't just like abstract philosophy we're talking
Yeah,
about.
no, not at all.
It sounds like it's about developing a real, tangible sensitivity to these underlying dynamics before anything physical even happens.
That's the idea.
Imagine walking into a meeting room and already having some sense of the emotional tone in there.
Or the history of a place.
Right. Or understanding something about the energetic history of a place just by being present. That's the kind of potential we're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really get a handle on the principles, the methods, and importantly, the practical applications of both etheric touch and data packet retrieval, and maybe what they reveal about us and the world.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, let's start right at the beginning. Psychic Aikido itself. How did it evolve?
Well, if you look at its roots, the jump from Morihei Ueshiba's classical Aikido is really insightful. That core idea, meeting force with yielding, that stays central.
Good.
But the arena, the battlefield, if you like, it shifts. Instead of dealing mainly with kinetic energy, physical movement,
Yeah.
psychic Aikido focuses on intentional energy, those subtle pushes and pulls of feeling, of thought, of will.
So the playing field gets bigger.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
It expands to include not just the physical body, but the whole energetic environment we're swimming in.
So the skill isn't physical leverage anymore. It's this heightened ability to sense and integrate with these energy fields we don't usually see.
Exactly. It's like becoming fluent in a language that isn't spoken out loud. You learn to read the room, but on a much deeper level.
Is it anything like, say, Tai Chi?
There's definitely a parallel. Think about Tai Chi's focus on the flow of ki, right? And aligning with the natural rhythm, the Tao.
Yeah.
Psychic Aikido operates on a similar principle of attunement. It's about sensing and then moving with the underlying energetic currents of a situation or a place, harmonizing with them.
This idea of expanded energetic awareness is really compelling.
Yeah.
So where do these energies actually live? The sources we looked at talk about our surroundings not just being empty space.
Right. They aren't neutral containers.
They hold on to echoes of what happened there. Like you mentioned, a room holding the imprint of an argument.
Yeah, exactly. And what's really interesting is this concept of environments having a kind of energetic memory.
Energetic memory.
Think about a place where something really significant happened emotionally, maybe intense joy or deep grief. Psychic Aikido suggests those events don't just vanish, they leave a subtle energetic residue.
Like a stain.
Sort of, but vibrational. It's almost as if the space itself absorbs and holds onto these patterns, these vibrations.
Our sources use terms like etheric data fields or morphic caches. That sounds quite technical, almost like these residues have structure.
They are described as having a real energetic presence, yeah. The idea is these aren't just vague feelings, they become embedded within the energetic field of that place.
Okay.
Etheric memory acts like a kind of non-physical cloud storage, holding the vibrational signatures of all those energetic transactions: joy, grief, conflict, reverence, you name it.
Wow. Okay, so if these energetic memories are out there, kind of stored in the environment,
Yeah.
how do we actually connect with them? What's our interface to this psychic cloud storage?
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the crucial role of our own energy structure. Psychic Aikido proposes that the human energy field is the key.
Our own field.
Yes, particularly centered around the heart, the hara, or pandan, that spot in the lower abdomen,
The center, yeah.
and the chakras, the energy centers in our hands. These act as the interface.
Okay, so the hara, which we often think of as grounding, that's like our anchor.
Right. Keeps you stable.
The heart often linked to emotion and connection.
Yeah.
That's like the tuner.
It helps you resonate, yeah. Like
Yeah.
tuning into a specific frequency.
And our hands.
Yeah.
You said they become like sensitive antenna,
Yeah.
reaching out and picking up these signals.
That's a good way to put it. Highly sensitive antenna.
Yeah.
And the process for accessing this stored info, it's sometimes called field resonance recall.
Field resonance recall.
It's where your own unique energy signature vibrates in a way that resonates with that stored data. It activates it, synchronizes with it, like tuning a guitar string to match another one.
So by consciously adjusting our own internal state, getting calm, focused, we can essentially tune into and pick up these subtle, energetic broadcasts without needing words or physical contact.
That's the foundational idea.
And that ability underlies both etheric touch and this data packet retrieval we mentioned.
Exactly. They build on that core capacity.
Okay, let's dig into etheric touch specifically then. What is it at its core?
At its core, etheric touch is about making that resonant connection with an etheric field. Using your own subtle body, your energy senses, but, and this is key, without any physical contact.
Right, no touching.
It's a very deliberate extension of your awareness, tuning into those subtle vibrations.
So how do you actually do that? What are the steps?
Well, typically it starts with cultivating a state of deep inner stillness, quieting the mental chatter.
Meditation, essentially.
Just that quality, yes.
Yeah.
Your breath naturally slows down, becomes more even, diaphragmatic, your mind empties out, or at least quietens, and your awareness expands outwards, radially.
Radially.
Yeah, like becoming aware of the whole space around you, not just what's in front of you. And the hand chakras, they're often gently opened, sensitized, through intentions, specific exercises maybe. In the state, the hands can emit a very low-frequency energy field. It's like you're gently feeling your way through the subtle, energetic textures of the room or the space.
That sounds incredibly mindful, almost like a moving meditation, but with your energy field.
It can be, yes.
How is this different from something like psychometry, where you hold an object to get information?
Good question. Or clairtangency, that sense of knowing through touch.
Right.
The key difference is etheric touch is more contextual and field-based. Psychometry and clairtangency usually need that direct physical link to an object.
Okay.
Etheric touch is more about engaging with the ambient energy, the overall atmosphere of a room, the lingering energetic patterns around a person, the feel of open space, all without needing that physical anchor.
So you're sensing the energetic climate, the overall feeling.
Pretty much.
The sources gave some examples, like feeling that tension in a garden after an argument.
Even long after.
Or sensing a kind of pervasive sadness in a room. These aren't just psychological projections, are they?
The emphasis is that they are experienced as tangible emotional frequencies. It's not just imagining it. It's described as a direct perception of these embedded energies through your refined senses.
Okay, tangible frequencies. So we can sense these lingering energies with etheric touch. Now, what about etheric data packet retrieval? What are these packets?
Right. The packets, think of them as highly compressed concentrations of vibrational information.
More concentrated than the general ambient feel.
Exactly. They might contain a mix of specific emotions, thoughts, intentions, what the sources call psychic echoes, all encoded within a location or an object, or even someone's energy field.
Psychic memory nodes was another term
Right.
used. That makes it sound like specific points within the wider field hold more dense information.
That's a great way to think about it, specific nodes. And the analogy of computer data packets is actually pretty helpful here.
How so?
They're like structured units, but containing experience-encoded information. Ready for decoding if you can access them.
So examples, what kind of information?
Well, think of that heavy feeling of sorrow you might sense in an abandoned house. That could be a data packet. Or the intense feeling of reverence at an old ceremonial site.
Yeah.
Or even something subtler, like picking up on concealed aggression behind a seemingly normal handshake. That feeling could be contained in an energetic packet exchanged between the fields.
Wow. So how do we access these? And then How do we interpret them? It sounds like trying to read a language we don't consciously know.
Well, the process often starts with etheric touch, establishing that resonance with the environment first.
Getting the stage.
Right. That resonance creates an opening, makes these packets potentially accessible to your awareness. They don't usually arrive like an email, though.
No. How then?
It's often much more subtle, maybe as intuitive impressions, fleeting mental images, a strong gut feeling, a felt sense in the body, or sometimes like an internal narrative or story just seems to arise.
So it's not like a clear voice saying, there was sadness here.
Rarely that direct, no. It's more like pieces of a puzzle appearing. The interpretation often involves symbolic language,
Symbol?
inner visuals, specific bodily sensations that seem meaningful, sudden aha moments or insights that just pop into your head.
Interesting. And the sources mention some more advanced, almost creative applications.
Yes, which is quite fascinating. Things like using those initial impressions to guide AI image generation.
Seriously?
Yeah, creating a visual representation of the energy, or what was called generative storytelling writing, based on the inner narrative or emotional history you pick up from a space, especially maybe a place with trauma.
So we're using creativity to make sense of the subtle.
Exactly. These creative outputs are seen as ways of externalizing that vibrational memory, taking the ineffable, the hard to describe, and giving it some kind of tangible form.
This paints a picture of a really profound way to interact with reality. But if we're talking about accessing potentially sensitive information, emotions, trauma, ethics must be a huge consideration.
Absolutely paramount. The sources stress this heavily because you are potentially dealing with vulnerable content, deep emotions, past traumas, sacred intentions. Respect is crucial.
So there's a clear line between using this for understanding or healing
Like for space clearing or de-escalation or just deeper empathy?
versus using it manipulatively, like psychic intrusion.
Precisely. The intention behind the practice is critical.
Okay, ethics aside for a moment, what about the tactical value? Are there practical ways these skills could be applied?
Definitely potential applications. Things like residual trauma scanning, moving through a building, say, and sensing spots where distress has built up.
Useful for therapists, maybe,
Yeah.
or architects.
Potentially. Or energetic cartography, mapping the unseen power dynamics in a social setting by reading the field.
Reading the room on a whole new level.
Even strategic positioning. Using subtle breath work or intention to, say, soften the energy of a space before a difficult conversation.
That example of the Aikido in the library at dawn.
Yes, breathing under the remembering tree.
Harmonizing with the library's field before anyone else arrived. Almost setting an energetic tone. That feels very proactive. The sources called it being a temporal Aikidoka.
Yeah, I liked that term. It suggests proactively engaging with the energetic fabric, subtly influencing how things might unfold. Not predicting, but harmonizing potential.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, but developing these kinds of sensitivities, it surely doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, definitely not. It requires real dedication, both physical discipline and energetic cultivation.
What kinds of training are involved?
Several core practices seem fundamental. First, breathwork and grounding. Slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing is key. Sometimes using grounding minerals, like hematite, is suggested to stabilize your own biofield, especially important when dealing with dense human energy fields.
Makes sense. You need a solid baseline. What else?
Hand chakra tuning. Specific exercises like visualizing or feeling energy balls form between your hands or doing qigong spirals to enhance the sensitivity of the hands.
Making the antenna more receptive.
Exactly. And environmental meditation. Spending quiet time in different places, just being still and passively receiving the environmental data, not analyzing, just absorbing, like letting your system cache the information.
Letting it soak in without judgment.
Right. And finally, really consistent energetic clearing or shielding practices are vital to clear your own field before and after you engage with these energies. Think salt baths, specific breath techniques, maybe visualizing sweeping your aura clean. It prevents overwhelm and stops you from carrying energetic residues around.
So it's about maintaining your own energetic hygiene.
Very much so. And it's not just about stillness. Integrating this awareness with movement is also crucial.
How so?
Practicing forms like Tai Chi or Aikido while consciously maintaining that energetic sensitivity. It teaches your body to flow with these subtle dynamics, not just physical ones.
So connecting the inner sensing with outer action.
Yes. Even just walking through a space, imagining your aura is like, say, fine silk brushing against things. It sharpens your awareness of energetic resistances, shifts in tension, emotional gradients, even noticing energetic vacuums.
That transforms etheric touch from just passive sensing into, well, a tactical art, almost, navigating the informational texture of the world.
Precisely. Learning to read the energetic landscape, social, architectural, natural, and navigate it skillfully.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. Ethric touch and data packet retrieval, they're presented not as magic tricks, but as practical, trainable skills.
Yeah, skills for refining our presence, our awareness.
And within psychic Aikido, they're like, well, perceptual tools on one hand, maybe even weapons in a very subtle sense.
But also harmonizing instruments on the other, ways to engage with the world as resonant beings, not just physical objects.
And it's grounded, isn't it? In the body, the breath, ethics, awareness. It's not about escaping reality.
Not at all. It's about engaging more deeply with it. It feels like a very 21st century evolution of martial arts, maybe? Addressing tension, trauma, energetic imbalance, things that go beyond just physical threats.
So the core message seems to be that real power lies in resonance, in attunement.
And that conflict can potentially be harmonized before it even fully erupts physically.
And that space itself isn't passive. It's responsive to trained, focused presence.
It really shifts your perspective.
It definitely makes you wonder, what other hidden music, what other subtle languages of our surroundings might we learn to perceive if we cultivated this kind of awareness? And how would that change everything? How we see the world, how we interact within it?
A provocative thought to end on. What else is out there waiting to be perceived?